Good morning. So I had another showing dream this morning in a room, like in a hotel, a restaurant, and I was drawn like magnetically pulled into this room where there was the guy with the that has in his last name. I'm not going to say the right name. Red Shield. But it's the not the real Ruby Father Templar Red Shield. It's the imposter of that, and part of the controllers. And I was like, okay, why am I drawn into him? I don't want to be drawn into him. He was sitting there with his family. They were all like looking very normal, but I knew what was going on behind the scenes, and I knew they wanted to distract me and pull me from my middle, so to speak, and the dream was becoming, so it was anyways, the lucidity was there. At the same time, I was also again starting to spin in this, as I explained it in videos before, where my body like becomes very vast, and these bliss starts to happen because of the surrender and the total relaxation, and then the bliss can come in. So it was like at the same time, and I was like, I can't let myself go into the bliss because I'm going to be vulnerable to what this guy is about and what their intentions are with me. And I was already, so this was happening all at the same time, this vulnerability by the surrender that was happening, and then I was dragged into the next room, and I knew this was coming from there. They wanted to do a ritual. Each room that I was awake, so I was just watching it. So the next room got darker, and then the next room got even darker. I wasn't afraid. I was just watching it, but at the same time, the energies were getting more and more like I was drawn into that stream, this inverted stream of, it's a coming from fear energy. It's an unpleasant energy. It's like, okay, I can't free myself in the dream from this pull. It was so strong, so I have to wake myself up, which I did. This is training. Once you willpower, you say to yourself, if I'm being psychically attacked in a dream, I have to wake up immediately. I have to wake myself up to pull myself out of it. So then the next dream, I'm in a house with a group of people, and it's kind of where we live, and another group of people comes in and they just take over. They don't care about us. They don't even look at us. They just take over the whole place, and over our pictures, they hang their pictures. They make themselves at home there. And I go up to the main woman, and first I feel my courage, I feel my solar plexus, and I say to her, give her a piece of my mind and say that she has no right to do that. And then she basically very rudely tells me to get lost. Here's the thing, it's always this very, 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 very fine difference, right? So on the one hand, there is courage, there is the awakening of the solar plexus, the standing in the I am and saying, hey, this is not right what you're doing, and you can't do that. And then there was, however, a sliver of anger in there, these poisonous darts flowing at her. That's a different vibration from standing in your truth. Then I am in a new house, the same people, however, and I am sharing with one of the people how unfair it was, and how she, her rude words, which I'm not going to repeat, said, I don't care, we don't care, you just have to get lost. I have to backtrack a little bit, because first it was empowerment to go up to her and speak directly to her like that. But then I felt how my anger towards her, this is like almost like a desire to pay back, to make her suffer for what she's doing to us, that weakened me, and it weakened my voice. So these were the two streams there. In the new house, sharing my frustration, even though we had already moved on, we were already in a new place. They were all sitting there, this group. Nobody cared about what I was sharing and what happened. It was like there was nothing we could do about it. That was the other thing, is that feeling of someone just coming and taking and being powerless. And this is what makes us angry. However, it is the anger that makes us powerless. So it is this Irish prayer of, help me to discern what I can change and what I can't. And what I can change, I do this the most efficiently. I can only stand in my power when I'm not angry and when I'm not projecting that anger onto the other. The realization was there's nothing we can do about it. Next scene was we're in this new place, but I'm still stuck repeating my frustration, and riding those old waves. In that moment, it was a living room, there was big glass windows, and the door opens, and it was a huge event, a huge glow, like so big that it was like into the sky. So what happened was, first it was like a snowstorm, because there's so many things happening so fast in a split second, and I have to explain every piece because that's the message, that's important. I realized, oh my gosh, this is the huge snowstorm that they were talking about. And now it's here, and it flung the door open, and the snow was coming in. But I have to explain what it looked like, because in the next split second there was a little bit of anxiety there, but it was like a split second and just a little bit, and then it moved over into awe, into just pure awe, because it wasn't a normal snowstorm. It was like a curtain, a white curtain of white powder held together by plasmic neuroplasticity. These are just the words that are coming, like this. And so this huge flowing white curtain, and it was blowing into the house, was blowing the front glass door open, and it had these balls, these white balls, like sometimes you will have it on bottom of curtains, and the whole thing was this pure white, like powdery, snowy crystals, you can say, powdery crystals, substance like snow. I just like dropped. It didn't matter anymore. It was like everything shifted. I dropped it and I went outside onto the balcony. And the balcony now was like in a high building in the middle of a city with high-rise buildings all around, and it was full of people, and there were other people. It was some chaos too, like there were things that didn't belong there, and it was somewhat chaotic. And there were people sitting were outside on their balconies or terraces, and I could hear from below. Okay, but I have to backtrack again before I get to that point. I notice that, yes, exactly. So before I went out, first the thought was, they had spoken about the storm, and then also the next thought was, I have heard it predicted in my dream in the radio. I don't listen to radio, no, it was a different kind of medium in the dream. I have heard spoken about the white curtain coming down from the heavens. So these are the two sides. The one side is the snowstorm, and now I have to shift shortly and tell you that yesterday I tuned in very shortly into a video that Tyler Kiwala from Journey to Truth podcast put out. He was in his car, and he said he's in St. Louis, and he said that is completely unusual that they have now, beautiful weather, sunshine, warm relatively, and they have a snow drill it's on the road. They say everywhere these signs, snow drill and make way for snow plows. And he said, this is very unusual. We never have snow drills here, very out of the ordinary. In the dream, there were these two sides. Of the one, there's a big storm coming, and that came from like the anxiety place. And the other one was the spiritual, like, prophecy prediction place, was like there will be this white curtain coming from the sky, and it's like this huge spiritual event. And that's why I shifted immediately out of this is not something to be afraid of, into the magical side, because that to me is the magical side, this spiritual side. And then I went outside. Okay, then I saw the people sitting there, and on the balcony I could hear. I've never heard this piece of music before. This happens to me a lot, that I hear beautiful music in my dreams that I don't know even exists yet. The kind of dance music that, for example, like Sun El musician creates. So it was ecstatic. It was like heart opening, like ecstatic dancing. And then my heart, I saw the curtain from the sky, and my heart began to expand, and I knew, oh my gosh, what is coming is this, oh my God, it's this huge, it's a huge, it's so hard to put into words, but ecstatic celebration. Ecstatic celebration. And this was also the message, not to stay stuck in in fighting the injustice, because there was injustice done, and it's like, move on, don't give that any energy. Of course, stand in your truth, but don't let it trigger your anger. And if it triggers your anger, it does, but then the thing to do is not to go into it, project it, and go into that fighting mode. That keeps you stuck in that vibration. But to let it go, to move on, and to rather, like with all emotions that show up, to open to them and feel them. As we feel them, we allow them to find their way into the heart, and we allow our heart to harmonize them so they can make their way through and be neutralized. And this neutralization of the unpleasant, painful, and what we call negative emotion, allows that expansion in the body to hold space for them, and they get transmuted also, and then they have no more hold over us. My heart was opening, and it was then pushing me into the cavity or the cavern in my heart where it couldn't open yet, where there were still feelings that were hurting, that haven't been felt yet, haven't been healed yet. And so that made me wake up, but it was seamless, because there was the whole time, there was the conscious, the lucid observer there. So it was seamless, and I knew, okay, now go in, and my guidance anyways, I'm one with it, was coming through. Now's the time, this is the opportunity. Completely surrender, zoom in and surrender into that feeling, that hurt that is coming up now in the heart. Don't go into the story that is telling, because the story of that pain puts me into like, if I don't feel the pain and instead I go into the story of it and there's that conditioning of resisting it, it gets so big, it's like a total panic, and then it gets just worse, and it just goes in that, it's like that vicious cycle. It doesn't get resolved. So the surrender into feeling it, and going into, instead of the story of that justifies this feeling, that says, yeah, but this is what it is, there is a reason to be in panic and to be afraid of, rather trust, just let it go, trust and surrender, and then allow yourself to feel it. And this will allow the heart to expand for all these, because what's happening is the ascending currents are getting stronger and stronger, and as we resonate more and more with them, we get pulled, we get drawn into them, and that current is, so the stronger the current, the faster the current, right? So this will bring up everything that doesn't resonate with it very, very strongly, and that's when we're resisting that, we experience the strong ascending fast current, which is the higher frequency, as it's like dragging us along. It's just like white waters. You know, if we go into the fear of it, it's very fast. But as soon as we can surrender into the heart, into feeling it, it's then the expansion happens, and when we're in it, it's the opposite. Then it completely is, it's slow and it's relaxed and it's so peaceful. So after I got up, I stood by the window and I saw in the clouds, I saw clearly a white swan. And then that white swan transformed into a baby white dragon. And it's also what has come up is the birth of the white animals, like the white buffalo calf for the Lakota. And this is these are the prophecies. And it's the white that comes out of the 0 point. It's neutral, it's pure, it's fresh, unbent, and it's also neutrality. So these are also the white outs that we see in the Schumann frequency. This is why it is this white curtain, and it is the bride, the white lace. And the theme of that came through with Kiwi in the little green dragon session that I did, and I made a video, that's a dragon video I made, where that's a theme of a baby dragon is being born, and this is also correlating with the theme of the soul of Christ child being born. Interesting how that is all coming together. So when I woke up, I also remembered what came in was this saying. Victoria Liljenquist is telling this story, and it's partly, I think, also in the Bible, where it says a bride in white lace, and she will come in the night like a thief. And this is also in correlating with the theme that I'm just working on this video on the return of the Messiah and what that means. Completely silent and unexpected, you won't even notice it. And the only thing that this thief anyways will take, because this fear of dying that comes, you know, like almost a panic that comes also with these high ecstatic vibrations of expansion, is the dying of all the aspects that are still identified with a false self, that are still living and out of an illusion. And that illusion is like the false overlay. It is the separate self, the self that doesn't know itself as one with all. And that only means, you know, you don't have to be an enlightened Buddha or something. It only means that you know yourself as the soul that you are in this body. And it also reminded me of when I was in Uganda in born again Christian camp. There was a priest, and he kept like, this is one, I think the one thing that I remember that he was like, every day there was like sermons. And he said, when the Messiah comes, don't get caught with your hands in the cookie jar. Don't be with sin. And sin only means without. If you are living without your soul, and you are only living from the egoic implant that in the right brain, it's the left brain. Yeah, so I did it right. So it's the left brain where that's where the false sense of the separate false sense of self is. If you're, or where you are living out of that, when that returns the Messiah, or where we are now, the ascension cycle, yeah, then that part goes into fear. 2 nights ago, after a long work on the day of work on the cutting board, I felt like I needed to move my body and dancing. So I put on a dance song from Song El Musician, and I danced, and my heart opened, and what I got was immediately was, who are we not to celebrate? When my heart opened, and the energies that I'm connecting to and that I generate through this celebration, I sent it goes naturally through the currents in the ethers to where it is needed most. And I was, of course, thinking about, because that is what has just the most recent shown up in my field, this catastrophe with I think, is it Carolina, with the flooding. I don't tune into it, but what the snippets that I got was, it is exactly the same thing that happened exactly here in this region, and I was in the epicenter of it 3 years ago. Many people lost their homes. There was like a tidal wave of flooding that went through here, and the reason why it didn't have to happen, and the reason why it happened, it was also the rain, the torrential rain, which was cats and dogs for 24 hours, and it was a very eerie feeling. It was I've never felt anything like it before. It was not natural weather. It was so bizarre, that feeling, because normally I love the feeling of natural weather. It felt artificial. It didn't feel alive. It didn't feel natural. And the same thing about, there was no warnings, the help wasn't coming. But so on the one hand, there was catastrophe. And on the other hand, from all over Germany, people came, they just got in their cars, they from their communities, they packed what they could. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sharing this. And they all came here, so many. I mean, it was amazing. I would have never expected this. And going through the streets, you could see all the people helping each other, the neighbors helping each other, and all these people coming here from far away from their private own money. These are private people. So there was, on the one side, there was this terrible thing that happened, and on the other side, I felt the heart energy was so strong with the people coming together. It was very, very healing. And also there was this thing about that there were areas where they were not even allowed in to help, where the narrative had been exactly inverted, and also it was downplayed, and this whole thing. So everything I heard from this flood in Carolina, exactly the same thing happened here. What was like a very deep soul message that was coming through into awareness was, even when something so terrible happens and we lose everything, lose like our home, the help that is not given from where it is supposed to come, but see what happens. Help comes from, we are taken care of. On the one hand, there was a dragging down of the vibrations, of the frequency, but on the other hand, it was evened out by this incredible love and caring that was then bestowed upon us here, and that we could, everyone was witnessing this. And these events that are like artificially installed, then they those are the inverted ones. They invert again on themselves and actually bring forth a greater opening of the heart. The way we can help best is to especially when, but especially when something like this happens, if we have it in us that we can connect to the uplifting currents, that we do that, and we celebrate the beauty that is already coming through everywhere, cracking up, and the magic and the beauty and the light is coming through. And as I'm saying this, it's also happening with the sunlight here. And we can tune into that, and then those frequencies will help those people that are in the greatest of challenges in the darkest places. That light that we then allow through our hearts strengthen these currents or make them stronger to uplift them. And then, we're not dependent on, and this is again this not to get caught up in the anger or frustration to what wasn't given and what was supposed to be given on the system level, but to rather, the system is what it is, and tune into what is there, what is given, and that has nothing to do with the system. Also, there have been coming out in this last year these movies, and I'm only thinking about 2 movies. One I had to stop. I couldn't even watch it. It was called Civil War, and there was another one with Julia Roberts, similar theme. There's kind of like a Civil War situation going on. What is shown there is that in these times where it shifts into lawlessness, and things are like just taken away in the chaos, that's the minority. Also, what they're showing in the movies is that then everyone goes and just takes care of themselves, and it's like everyone against everyone, neighbor against neighbor, and just only save yourself. I saw the opposite happening here on the ground 3 years ago. I saw the potential that was there latent the whole time that I didn't even expect was there, and it touched me so deeply. It was so beautiful. And I know that this is the same also in America. They want us to believe this, and that this is what they're showing, what people are like. But in reality, this is not how I see it. And so for us also to remember that and to trust in that, and focus on that, the beauty and the light that is coming through the cracks, the sorrow that is there. Allowing, opening up to allow ourselves to feel that, trust also that we will be helped and we will be taken care of, even when those institutions that are meant to do that are not doing their job, that we're not dependent on that system. Namaste, aloha.